didn't end up getting as much done as I was hoping.
Sounds familiar.
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, get a message from a bot saying meeting is starting now.
Hello.
Greeting.
Maybe we wait 2 more minutes or so.
Yeah, I think several people kind of marked themselves up for the event.
Well, the top monkeys are here, so that's good.
I guess we give it a few minutes and see if Arctic and Lemon turn up.
Oh yeah, it would be useful to have a project manager here, right? It's like at the job where when the programmers get into the meeting, wait for the project manager to speak first.
Yeah. Or they don't turn up and it's like, okay, I'll monkey us through this morning stand up for today then and go over all of the current tickets.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. I didn't prepare anything specific, but I guess we would just have things to talk about. I mean, we don't have a shortage of pull requests coming in. It's becoming more and more of various different things. So we have pull requests coming in for retail retail incompatible changes. We have a lot of refactors coming in. We have some bug fixes for retail issues and for our own issues. We have features coming in, and yeah, it's quite a lot. So I'm just busy reviewing and like finishing my own things, working on new things, and it never ends. I feel like I'm working on too many things that are not directly related to the first release because there's just so many different things coming in. Like for example, now we have a change proposal for AI generated documentation, right? So like yeah, you can spend multiple hours reviewing this and make suggestions here. This can be different. This can be like that, and you know it costs time. So not a good use of time towards release. But in the end, it's still all these things are different things that are useful for the project overall at some point. So yeah, maybe we can. I guess like Maula, you have a bunch of changes that we can probably talk about. Sky Aero, he has been very busy with the string concat refactor, which yeah had quite a long tail. And what else? Inhibition created a lot of different refactors. I think he has nearly 20 pending pulls, and yeah, things are moving slowly for him. Slorm Lord has quite a few changes which are important, like the crash dump, for example. So yeah, there's certainly good changes in the works. Maybe we can take a look. Who did the screen share here? What is this? Molders. Okay, that's good.
Oh yeah, that was me.
That's good. Good idea. Yeah. Can I make this larger? Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah, we can look at your screen and you can click around. Yeah, maybe we can just look at a few things and talk about strategies. So for example, I know that Maula, you have pending change for the widescreen, which of course is important, and also the icon scale up, which is also important for 4K. And I think you had another one that was important, but I already forgot it. So yeah, things
Oh,
like
we had
this.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the font scaling one, but I don't know how necessary that one is actually at the moment.
The font scaling. Yeah, this one also needs finishing. Yeah, because the font at 4K is too small. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is I was sure when I mentioned it the other day that menus the font is too small still, but in game because you have the gentle font, it looks okay. I think it was actually Fish's screen that he was sharing me and showing it to me. So everything once you're in game was okay, but then as soon as you open menus and try to look at things, it's just far too small.
I think even in the game, the fonts are small, like the tooltip and the money value will be very small as well in 4K.
Oh, I thought the 4K Control Bar Pro scaled that up.
Yeah, it does, but it also scales it up in menus.
Okay, because I'm sure that Fish had 4K Control Bar Pro one and it looked okay in game, but then as soon as you were on the menus, some of the options and everything didn't work properly.
Okay, I don't know about that, but the official version, it looks proper. Maybe he used some spin-off version that had it broken, but I can't speak for that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I know that there are a lot of forks of this add-on, and they all do different spin-offs, and maybe they break things on the way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, so regarding this change, as we have discussed in the two pull requests, I'm strongly of the opinion that we should not just break the existing add-on. So if people just copy the executable or get it in GenHub, then the existing add-on should just work. The add-on has been like on the market for 3 years and people just might have it installed already, and like if they launch it, it shouldn't look broken, right? So, and it's very easy to handle this, and the change I did already does it, and it's just a few lines of code, so it's really not a big deal. We can talk about this balanced size method that I have added. I think I did write some other suggestion at the bottom, which I haven't serviced yet. So I can do that. So basically, I think there is a way that we can service all the existing add-ons and the retail game, and also new menus, which would like to have the strict scaling, which I agree is like the strict scaling that you have proposed in your change is like the most reasonable if you have like if you want proper scaling with white screens and non-white screens. But for the legacy, for the original game UI, I don't think it's fitting, because the original game UI has these has very large buttons under texts, right? So like if you look at the main menu, for example, if you open it in 4:3, then you see the texts are much smaller than the buttons. And so if you then use a widescreen, it will scale up the fonts, and then they still fit into the buttons, right? So there's so much room in these UI elements that you can scale it up, right? And that's why I think it's not a good idea to just say, hey, we force a strict method by default for the legacy UI, because people got used to how the font looks, right? So for the user, the game just looks the way it is in their normal resolution that they always play in every day, right? And so if they then install the new patch and the font looks different and they didn't opt into that, then this is a obvious change that may cause upset. And that's why I think we shouldn't like force it, but have it like an option either for modders or for user, right?
Yeah, we think the main issue was it was your proposal for balance because you're scaling it based upon the width and the height of the screen. It doesn't scale properly across all aspect ratios, so fonts are different sizes. But we could work around that simply by doing something similar to the strict scaling, where we scale it based upon maybe the square of the smallest resolution of the screen, or dimension of the screen. I mean, the smallest dimension.
You mean the? What do you mean by square?
So instead of multiplying the width by the height, you multiply by the height twice. So square the height essentially.
I'm not sure if I follow. I think the balanced scale makes sense. So what it does is if you it finds a balanced scale between the new width and height in relation to the 4x3, right? So the 4x3 is like the normal, where it doesn't scale, but if you now make it wider, then it takes half of the added width, right? And if you would increase height a bit, then it would take half of the height that is added. So it's like it takes half of width, half of added width, and half of added height. So it's like a balance. Like the height contributes to the upscaling and the width as well, but both do just half. That's what it does. And then it caps it at 2. Because like if you go too far, then it becomes too much. Like so, there's like a cap, yeah. But otherwise, it's balanced. So because if you increase the height, like your button also becomes physically larger, right? The height increases, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I said, okay, then let's also increase the font if the height grows. Same with the width. If the width grows, then the button has more space on the sides, right? And so more text can fit in there. And since the original UI is so generous in spacing, where all the buttons, all the UI elements have so much space, and the text, has so much room in there, you can scale these things up. So the balance works with the original game. Same as the classic one, which is bugged. That also works up to full HD. Afterwards, it becomes a mess.
Yeah, that's what I meant, is that because you're also scaling based upon the width, the wider the screen gets, the bigger the font gets, with the balanced scaling as it's implemented at the moment. So the font scaling isn't consistent between different aspect ratios.
Can you give an example?
So if you go from 4x3 to 16:9 using balanced, the font will be a point size larger. And then if you go to 21:9, it's another point size larger as well on top.
Well, so there is a cap. So if the aspect is larger than 2, it caps. And if it's smaller than 1, it also caps. So
yeah, but 21:9 is it's still a smaller aspect than 2.
Uh, 21:9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's smaller than 2. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But then it still has room to grow as long as so if the text clips outside of the buttons and so on, then then that's too much. But as long as it doesn't do that, then it would be fine, right? I think it's something that can just be tested and see if like there's some screen where it doesn't work and then like cap it or so. I don't know. We can make this. So right now, what it does in the change, it puts the balance as default, and I think that's wrong. It should put the classic with no cap as default. And then it should use the real classic for Control Bar Pro if it detects that it's the old one. and then it should give you the option to put the classic, or the classic with no cap, or the strict, or the balanced as options for modders, so that they can adjust it to their GUI if they make a custom one.
Yeah. There was something else that I noticed with this particular PR that you did, is you added the ability to... Yeah, you added this extra function here, but I'm sure you already added something similar before, because you added the ability to detect if you've got the Control Bar Pro installed.
Yes.
For the full viewport.
Yeah, so I added it into this new file so that I can use it at 2 places.
Oh, fair enough. That's what it was. It was just a refactor.
Yes. Because it's already used to detect the full viewport thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I chime in here for a sec?
Sure.
I love that we're unblocking individual issues, but I'm also curious to know, like from an overhead view, are there any things that do not currently have open PRs, like any issues that are remaining and have not yet been addressed towards our first release? And if not, then yeah, I think should we spend this meeting trying to resolve any issues in the existing PRs? Like I'm just trying to figure out how to quickest get us to being able to have our first release.
Yeah, I did want to talk over what was left, so that's kind of why I opened up the issue tracking all of the current things that we need to add to Gentool again. So it was definitely on the agenda to look back over that.
Okay, we already got quite a few things tackled. That's good.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we've got my camera height adjustment 1711 needing to go in because that makes the game playable.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's a couple of them here where we want to determine, are they necessary to be in the first release, even though they were a Gentool feature?
Yeah, so the replay time pause, that is not important. So I think we need this camera pitch adjustment, camera height adjustment. I think that's important. Screen brightness, I think Unhibition made one for this.
Yep.
So regarding the camera, so I know that you have this change open. So I also currently have a big change in the works for camera, but I was interrupted the last week by all the other reviews and other things to work on, so I haven't advanced this. So the problem is that there is a lot of junk in this camera code, and it's really hard to detangle this shit. And so the way the camera is programmed, implemented, the mass is just weird in places. So it's really difficult to untangle this and to make it clean. And so one problem, for example, is the camera pitch, the way this is being implemented. So I tried to like properly implement this, the pitch. I can't remember exactly what the problem was, but yeah, there was some weird issue with the pitch. I remember the pitch. The problem is the game already starts with a default pitch, which is this 37.5, which is defined in game data. And then if you in game or in code, you set a new pitch, then that pitch is relative to this default pitch of 37.5. So if you want to set a pitch of 90, then it's not 90, but it's 37.5 plus 90. So it's, and the way it's implemented is really shit. So I decoupled this, and now like the pitch will be inputted with like, okay, you say, okay, I want this pitch to be 50, and then it will be at 50. And this required quite a bunch of changes in how this works. The other issue is the way the camera interacts with a border, and with a border, and then and the height when you scroll over the train, the height, and how the zoom works. The zoom is weird. Well, it's not weird, but so you have a height, and then so the one of the big problems is like when you change the height, you scroll over the map, and then you rotate the camera, then the rotation pivot is not at the look at direction, but it's somewhere like higher or lower, right? So your rotation pivot is not where you expect it to be, and this causes all sorts of issues also when interacting with a border. And fixing this is really hard. It requires like to re-implement the mass to to get the zoom done. So like you have like the different things like that determine the height of the camera, and then the zoom of the camera is then like added on top. And so like there are different steps on how it calculates this, and like this stuff needs to be untangled and re-implemented. And so it becomes quite a big change. And so the changes that you did to W3D View Mauler, they will be conflicting with this. So I'm I'm afraid of adding your changes, because that will cause merge conflicts with the changes that I currently have in the works on W3D View, just this class. Yeah, so that's why I said pause it for now, because your change is kind of small, right? But the changes I do, they're really big. They change quite a few things in this class. And so I think this needs more work, needs to be properly implemented. And even if we have it properly implemented, it still will be chaos code, because there is this weird code. So when it sets the default pitch, it builds like the position, the position where the camera is put, and like where it starts, and then it starts calculating like height and so on. The position where it put, I think they didn't put much thought into like where this position actually is. They just take this camera pitch that is typed into the game data ini, so the 37.5, and if you change this pitch value, it will change the distance to the ground as well. So it has like knock-on effects of how the whole camera thing works. So if we change this pitch in game data ini, then it changes this whole thing, and that's why it becomes so brittle, and that's why it needs to be like properly re-implemented, because it's just like absolute chaos. Like you can't like properly control the camera with a setup like this. So and so there will be assumptions made to the camera that just like that will be set in stone because the retail game did it like this, but for no logical reason. It's just like because it has been originally implemented this way. That's it. So just to let you know that it's quite intricate to fix it, at least for me. So it takes more time to get this done.
Is that that's kind of the top priority right now, right? In terms of getting the game playable.
Yeah.
If I wanted to play with my brothers this weekend or something, the camera is the first thing that I would want to get fixed. How long do you think that'll take to re-implement the way that you want to? And is there like a step where we could do like, hey, this will work for now until we get the real fix in?
Yeah, as I said, I have it in progress. I have it paused now for 2 weeks or so, since I was busy with reviewing and so on. So if I can focus back on this and I don't have any distractions, then I can advance this. I think maybe there's not much done left. There's already the pull open for this, but I didn't push the new stuff yet. So but in the pull, Stubiax rightfully mentioned that it doesn't work correctly when with the border in DEFCON, when you go down where the border goes lower, it doesn't work correctly because this pivot issue exists. So the pivot issue needs to be fixed, which we also have a bug report for, and then the pitch issue on top. So like it touches a lot of problems, like the border interaction, the pivot issue when the height changes, and the pitch mess up. So these three things, and so it's quite a big change. And yeah, so but it shouldn't change the stuff that Mauler wants to do afterwards on top of this with the camera height. So that should just go on top, and it should work. So, but like if we merge Mauler's thing now, it will cause me major merge conflicts, and so that's why I didn't want to push for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So
Are there PRs for all of those three things that you just mentioned?
Yeah, well,
Like the
it's one change because all these things, they are interconnected. I can try to split it. So like the pitch thing, for example, I could make it a separate change. And then maybe the pivot and the border thing is kind of, it's also intermingled. Like right now I have it like all going into maybe 1-2 commits. So I don't know. I could try to decouple this afterwards, but that will also be work. Right now, I'm just trying to get it to properly work because that's already hard enough. So doing it, because the thing is, like, if I touch one of the aspects of the camera, it will have effects on the other part, right? So, for example, I touched the border interaction thing, and I thought it's done, but then the way the zoom and the pitch works then cause issues with it. So it's all interconnected the way this works. Yeah.
So is some of this also to do with how the underlying W3D camera works, or is it just all W3D view handling?
It's mostly in W3D view. Yeah. The way the camera position and rotation is calculated in there. That's the crux of it.
Okay, that's cool. I was just thinking if because here you had a simplification and a bit of a cleanup first to begin with. Did we maybe want to get that out in a PR to merge first, and then we can get the other bits on top?
Yeah, I think all the things were all the changes. So like even if we merge this refactor, the first one, and then you submit your change, then there will still be a merge conflict.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't considering making my merge. I'm just thinking of how can we split this out to kind of get things moving quicker, and we can get bits reviewed.
No, I think the biggest tackle here is to get it to work properly, and then afterwards, then we can split into commits. So I'm more worried about properly implementing so that the camera works well. That's the biggest challenge. And the problem is like it's very so the way that EA has implemented the zoom, I think is very clever. So like when you move over the terrain with a camera, a naive implementation would just change the height of the camera when you move over elevation, right, up and down. But the way they implemented is they zoom into the view direction of the camera when you go elevation up and down. And this needs to be preserved, this behavior. I tested what happens if I just update the height, which was easy to do, but then it looks really painful. The experience is really bad. So we need to retain the legacy behavior with the way the zoom works, but we have to implement it a different way so that the pivot issue is gone. And this is a bit contradictory to how EA has implemented it, but it must be the user experience must be the same. Yeah, and so this was like the last problem I needed to tackle, and then I was distracted by other things.
Yeah, because isn't that the concept of camera height above terrain? And because the terrain can change heights, it tries to compensate and maintain that height above the terrain.
Yeah, it's related to this height above terrain. And so there are different components, height above terrain, but then also ground level. Ground level plays into the pivot position. Yeah, and so the ground level is only updated when you press numpad 5 currently.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's why the rotation point changes when you move to higher terrain.
Yes. So the map starts and then it sets like a ground level and then it just stays there, this ground level, and that will be your pivot point. And so if you then scroll to terrain that is higher or lower, this position just doesn't change unless you press numpad 5 to reset your camera, and then this pivot point is reset.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to, like, this pivot point needs to be dynamically adjusted when we scroll over elevation, but it should not it should not affect the way that the camera zooms in and out. And this was the problem I tried to solve, and it's not that straightforward.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So, coming back to distractions that Xeson is suffering with, and also the question from Inhibition. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Inhibition.
Inhibition, yeah. In a more overview, I was thinking and looking, we have milestones defined. They are a bit hard to find in GitHub. I'll just put a link in chat for those who cannot find it. There it is. We have three, and particularly three specific milestones, I think that should have our attention, which is the gentle feature replication, stability fixes, and major bug fixes. I think if we ensure that issues and PRs that are relevant to those are correctly tagged, then we can concentrate our efforts on those. And any other PR and issue that is not related to one of these three milestones should be ignored for now.
Yeah, that was also similar to why I mentioned with things that are left of gentle features, whether they're important or not to get into the first release or not. Just if we're considering wanting to release something sooner than later. Although I think for some of these things, we actually have PRs open for them now at the moment. And I guess some of these things are actually going to come into Xeson's changes with the camera handling.
My suggestions for the so I agree with focusing on like these big topics, these three big things: stability, major bug fixes, and gentle replication. I think that's most important. I wouldn't rule out refactors, but the volume of those refactors, that needs to be a bit lower. Like in last week, I think there were way too many refactors that tried to like mass refactor things and move files, and like I think it's better to just like do maybe one or two, but not like open 5 like in a row, and because it's just too much. Then it's like better to just focus on a few things, right? I think so, like because the refactors help to clean up the code, which then also saves time looking at things and just like understanding how the code works or placing a new fix. So refactors, simplifying things, and is always good, but maybe shouldn't be in such huge volumes that it totally overwhelms all the other efforts.
You can totally ignore the refactors for now. Like put them in the back burner until the release is out.
Yeah, but then they need to be
A lot of those are me.
Then
Yeah.
So like if someone makes a mass refactor like touching 700 files, then this needs to be merged very quickly, because after 1-2 weeks there will be massive merge conflicts. So like if someone makes a refactor, it should be communicated and then try to be finished rather quickly. Yeah.
That was kind of what I also suggested.
So, for example, I'm keen on advancing with the game network stuff, because this looks very useful to me. So, like after the STRL copy stuff is done, then we move game network to core, and then you apply your refactors to game network. And I think that's very valuable, and it's a good focus for now in regards to refactors.
Okay, I think that we should make like a priorities list right now, and I would think that the very first thing is the camera stuff, and then like what are the top 3 or 5 issues, and is there anything that like who should be owning these things, and what can we all be doing to contribute? And is there anything that I can be doing to help you with the camera work, or anybody could be doing to help with the camera work, or is there certain things where it's like this is top priority, and that's you're gonna run with that and leave you to it, right?
No, I can probably finish this. I just need more time to get this done. Yeah, I can drop all reviewing and just work on this now. Yeah, but then that means reviews will be stalled. So right now it seems that so for my changes, like a lot of reviewing is done by Sky Aero and Maula, right? And for reviews that are not from me, it's a lot of reviewing from me. And so it seems like when I'm not reviewing, then it's not advancing too much. So like my impression is when I look at reviews, there's always so much still left to do, right? It's not a blame or anything. It's just like my observation. Like sometimes there are changes which are perfect and like instant approve, but very often there is more and more stuff that needs to be improved, right? So and it takes a lot of time to go through these things. Like an easy example is like the refactor from Vitimiti, right, where he removed the redundant returns and he removed 30, but when I look at my code and search, I see like 1,400 or so of these, right? So I wonder why is this so incomplete, right? Like there should be thousands and not 30, right? So that's why like things like this, if it would be good if there was a bit more attention to simple things like this. It would speed up things, but yeah, I think everyone tries their best. So I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can try starting doing more reviews on these other things to keep that away from you, so you can focus on the issues that you're working on.
Yeah, I think it will certainly help. So like if other people review all the changes, and I look at a review and it already had review passes where things were improved. Like for example, yesterday there was this review that I looked at, one of yours with switch cases, right? Where someone already posted suggestions. So that was good because then there was less work for me as well. Yeah. So yeah, the more people look at reviews, I think it speeds up things. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and review a bit more recently. I've not had masses of time, so I've tried to kind of focus my time as I can when I review.
Yeah, but to be fair, you also have a lot of reviewing to do when I open changes, right? And I open the most changes probably.
Yeah.
So like it's not like that no reviews are happening. Like there's a lot of reviewing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in terms of priorities, we could probably also put on the back burner for the minute changes which aren't retail compatible.
Yeah,
in the short term.
Yeah, true. I haven't looked at these lately because there were all these other changes coming. Yeah, but Stubiex creates a lot of these. I already wrote in one of our chats that I really appreciate that he does so much fixing. But yeah, these are not the current priority, right? But these will be nice to have then once compatibility is dropped later.
Yeah, I do plan on going over the map cache one next. Try and get that in there because that is a nice one to have. And I'm sure there are issues with the map cache generation and updates at times where it does just kill itself. yeah, I guess beyond that, it was well, it's like we said, we had a focus on a few of the other things that were wanting to get into the first release, which aren't necessarily in Gentle. So, like we talked about, there was my UI scaling such. The only real thing that this is being really held back for the first of the changes that need to be implemented is the health bar. That's basically it. So it's where we've had this concept of scaling up the health bar and trying to make it look reasonable at all resolutions. The issue that I was having was basically getting it so that when we're at intermediate scales that it would actually look okay. But I can't actually get blending to work from what I've looked at the moment. So whenever we're at an intermediate size, I essentially can't get transparencies to work. But I think I remember just saying at the event that you had some code in Gentle which does similar things, which may help.
Yeah, I don't know what you tried. I would assume that it works because I have seen half pixels and then like the line will look blurry, right? So it certainly is a thing in DirectX. I wonder if
I've noticed when they're at a diagonal, it may work, but when they're square on like this, whenever I've had a half pixel, it's basically just filled it in with the full color.
Okay, I don't know if you use like a wrapper class or if you use native DirectX call. So like if there is like a step in between that clamps float to some integer, right, then you would lose this precision. But if you would pass float directly to the DirectX call, it should work with these half pixels, and then it does its blurry lines. So I would expect that it works. I think you can also ask chat what he says about it. I can look at my code and give you some sample. I forgot about that. Yeah.
No, that's fair.
But I also can't remember like which code exactly this is. But I would assume that it works. But yeah, I could be wrong, right? Yeah. So I think this change is very good. It's very important. But yeah, the health bar, it doesn't look so not perfect yet, and of course we want perfect game, right? So if we can make this look really nice on scales, which I think is important, because if you scroll towards the units, you also want to have a graceful scaling of these things, right? You don't want these things to clip too much. So if this can look very nice and smooth when you scale, when you zoom, then this would be probably very nice. Yeah.
Yes, that's the only one really holding back the UI scaling. And then once this one's in, I can then add the zoom scaling and then add the bug fixes for the bombed icon, because that one's completely broken. And then that's pretty much the UI elements sorted at that point. I'm trying to think of what else was there that we were... Oh, no, that was it, really. I think it was just the camera zooming, the UI, and the text. What I'll do is I'll go back and have a look at the text scaling again for your implementation and just double check at my end.
I think the JPEG screenshot from Baptista is also good. I haven't looked too much into it yet, but I think that's important because the BMP screenshot is just bonkers. On top of that, there's also an issue. I don't think we have it tracked. You can't F12 screenshot during loading screen. I think this needs looking at. I suspect that the commands are not processed in there.
Yeah, I think that's all it is user commands aren't being processed during the loading screen. I think the
which is probably
command translator isn't run at that point.
Which is probably reasonable for game state things, but not useful for things that are just global client side things. So maybe we need to have like a different command lists, one for client and one for game logic or so. I don't know. Maybe there needs to be some split, or maybe it's already there's a way to distinguish between these. I don't know. But like if it's like a if there's like a hard limitation that says, yeah, you can't process this because the game is not running yet, then we need to do something about this. Like, yeah, we need to be able to run key commands anytime. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is basically just because the game treats all input through as though it's a game command, or the majority of them at least. I think that's all it is. It's just splitting that out and handling it elsewhere, probably in one of the window handlers.
Yeah. So I think this is something that can be tracked as bug and then also worked on, because players should be able to take screenshots in the loading screen as well. And I don't know if there are other button mappings, but I assume like if we would put a button on some other, like, I don't know, hide and show the clock, right? And you would press that, then that would also not work, or all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it's a systemic issue, but it's most prevalent with the screenshots. Yeah. So regarding it says CNC online connection. So right now we don't have any online connection, as far as I'm aware. Omniblade at the very beginning, he did add some CNC online stuff there, but I think it never worked. At least I couldn't run it locally. So
yeah, I think I remembered seeing that he had added the IP addresses.
Yeah, so either we like put those URLs in there and just make it work, which probably just means we need to put the URLs at some specific locations, or we have Generals Online. But the last time I chatted with user X64, he said that he doesn't have yet the stuff necessary to get the CNC, the Generals Online stuff compiled with VC6. So that is a blocker. He can't compile it yet because he would need to wrap the Steam stuff or Valve stuff, some libraries first, to get them to compile with VC6. So that probably won't happen anytime soon, I suspect. But he told me that he said that it would be nice if it was part of the first release, but then it would need to be a priority and he would need to work on it. I think we don't have the capacity to work on this. Unless someone here thinks like he can help him with getting this to run on VC6, the Generals Online, and then so I think the first step would be to help him to get it on his branches to compile with VC6. So that would be the first step. And then when that works, then the next step, and that's probably more challenging, is to get those things integrated to us, which probably will take very long because, yeah, I mean, he never had any code reviews with us. So like, we don't know what is coming there, right? Like, I mean, if it's all like nicely detached from game for the most part, then it's probably good. But like, I assume that it touches a lot of things here and there that need attention and probably discussions and so on. So I would expect that it's major work, and if we want it soon, then it probably needs to this stuff needs to start soon as well.
Yeah, from what I've seen, is much of the Generals Online code is in its own new game multiplayer library. It's just where it hits Westwood Online menus handling. That's basically where it integrates back into the game again and replaces GameSpy. So I guess it's all those touch points that would, well, to be honest, it probably needs a bit of a review in general, just for a sanity check. Yeah. When it is transferred over.
So maybe what we can do for now, try to get CNC Online to work for now, so that we can at least test GameSpy Lobby for starters, because we haven't tested it yet on our branch. So maybe that would be good. And yeah, but in the long term, or maybe even in a short, medium term, it would be good to get Generals Online, because CNC Online clearly is not the future, right? But it's probably is good to test things, and yeah, and then we can just have a switch. Okay, you connect to CNC Online or to Generals Online. Like from our side, we can just like provide options, right? So it's okay.
Yeah, I guess, what was it? One other thing that's a bit confusing is what did we mean by auto camera height in the replay?
Maybe this is already fixed. I already submitted something that if you scroll and replay, that the camera height gets adjusted properly. I think this is fixed when player is selected.
Yeah, that was the confusing bits that made me think of, is that when you're tracking a player and their camera's moving, does it mean to adjust the camera height at that point? But I don't know how that's tracked in the game, and whether it's just position as well as height of the camera that's tracked in the replay.
I guess I can't remember, but maybe it's fixed. I guess create a single player replay where it records the camera and then play that back, and then see what the camera height does when the player is selected. Because when you select the player, it will move the camera to where the single player guy looked. Yeah. If that looks good, then all good. If it doesn't look good, then that needs investigation again. But yeah, not now, because the camera is in the works right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Lemon recently added the money tracking display that he was working on.
Yeah, there's also still a big tail of work in regards to the logic FPS decoupling.
Yeah, and I guess that goes into the what was it again? Being able to adjust the speed of playback of the fast forwarding.
Yeah. So there's still the fast forwarding. Yeah. So there's still a lot of stuff, but so the way it's set up right now is that the default experience should be the same as retail, and currently you can only access the decoupling with the numpad plus minus keys to change the frames per second or logic per second. Otherwise, the game should run as it always did. For the most part, but still the decoupling still takes effect in terms of animations and so on. But like, once you change, so I mean, the end goal is that the frame rate, the render FPS, it shouldn't be changed by the game. It still is, right? So if you load a campaign and there's a cutscene, it will limit the FPS to 24, right? And then when you play, it will be 30 or so, right? When you load a save game, it will also be 30 FPS, right? So a game shouldn't do that, but right now it still does, and I think it's okay for now, because you first need to like fix all this decoupling and make it all nice, and yeah, fast forwarding that also still uses the legacy logic, and it's still quite a mess. It's already like better than retail, I would say, but yeah, it's not great yet.
Yeah, so we say that for now is probably fine where it is for first release.
Yeah, I think there are some issues with fast forwarding and something. I can't remember what it was. And there are also issues with ghost objects that Stubiax has raised. So that probably also needs looking at. So I think all the things that are tracked as this project specific, these things you probably need to tackle for first release, so that at least we don't introduce any new issues or new features with obvious issues. Like, so the observer feature, it shouldn't have obvious issues that make it look like an unpolished experience, I would say.
Yeah, I think the fast forward issue I mentioned the other day, where some animations just completely freeze when you're fast forwarding.
Okay, yeah, then this needs looking into.
Where it looks like they freeze. It could just be that they're animating so fast that they're just skipping.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about the fast forwarding changes or like the decoupling. It's not that difficult. The camera is more worrying than this.
Yeah, I guess the other thing was, what's supposed to be the difference between replay time pause and just pausing like we already have?
Yeah, so that was like, it's not a useful feature, but in Gentoo you can basically set a time where it would then auto pause. So
Oh, I see. Okay, so you pause at certain time or frame, etc.
yeah, so the rationale for this was so that you just set a time, like you want to visit this time multiple times, and then you just like restart the replay and you fast forward quickly to it, and you just wait, and then it just auto stops. So it's like a convenience to fast forward to a specific point and then stop there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds like a feature which maybe adding later on when we
Yeah.
make menu changes to the replay menu and such.
Yeah, it's not important.
Yeah, I think for the most of it, we do have work in place to fill the majority of what's remaining then. I guess as we said, I'd say the most important one at the moment are your changes, Zizon, for getting the camera functional, simply because it makes the game playable at that point.
Yeah, I agree. The camera we should fix soon. Yeah. Yeah. I would also say the font, so the camera, font, and icon scaling, so that it becomes nice to play in 4K as well. This would be nice to have.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen off of Fish when he's played at 4K and you just can't see any of the unit information at all on screen.
Yeah. Then the nice features here with the camera pitching and the camera height for single player. This we need. We need to fix all the project specific issues. Any other big bugs left? We still need to figure out what to do with the heat haze effect. Fix or hack.
Yeah.
We still haven't figured that out, and I don't know what I have not been able to figure out what the exact cause is. So maybe someone else that I don't know can dig and try, and I don't know. I can't reproduce a black screen on my machine, but I can reproduce a missing effect reliably.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this is that the fixes that you've made so far do get it working for some people, but then it's still broken for others or crashes their game. So it is a weird mixture of things. And then as some people have mentioned, if they've got super sample anti-aliasing enabled, it causes black screens, but without it, it works fine.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. I think it needs some rendering engineer to properly understand it, or maybe it's just like the driver just cannot handle this. Because the game does something that the driver developers no longer have on the radar. I don't know. But to me, it sounds like whatever DirectX 8 is doing is so simple that these drivers should be able to handle this. But then maybe there's some very easy mistake in there, but it's just...
Yeah, spending the time working for it and then having... You almost need hardware which is affected by the problem, really. It's why in the past where I've looked at some pull requests and I've just said I literally can't review this because I just can't replicate the problem because I don't have it. So it's difficult to really review those pull requests.
Yeah, it always helps to be able to reproduce, especially when I'm investigating. Yeah. I don't know. I also don't know how to debug this the heat haze, because like we don't have any tools that can diagnose DirectX 8. Like RenderDoc doesn't support it. We can't run pics. I don't know what other tools would there be. Like this shit is so old that we can't investigate it.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a quick question. Now that you're here, Leggy, do you ever have super sample anti-aliasing enabled when you're playing? Maybe he's not there.
yeah, so maybe I we don't have any like dedicated rendering engineer, right? So if we had some rendering engineer, maybe he would be able to figure this out, but I don't know how to do this. Yeah. Okay, what else would we have?
Oh, where's Sekvo? Oh, we should just do this the straightforward way. I think in terms of what's in the Gentle list, we've probably covered most things here.
What are the action items in the other ones, in the major bugs and?
Oh yeah, the milestones.
And
so if we look at major
stability?
bugs,
Yeah, I had a look around, and there are a lot more issues marked as major than that are in this milestone. So I'm not sure if this is a good representation of major bugs.
Yeah, okay. I think a lot of bugs are also like retail incompatible. But I think we tackled most of the critical ones and the blockers.
Yeah, I think map ini handling could do with looking at, because I have looked through the ini code before, and there's a lot of throws in there which are just going to outright crash the game. So I suppose if we can more gracefully back out of loading an ini if it's just not valid, it'd be better than completely crashing the game at that point.
Yeah, I think the ini parser is also very slow. I saw this when looking at the map cache. Like the parsing the map cache ini file was really slow. So the way it's implemented seems bad. But I think that's just in general, like text-based parsing is always bad. So maybe in the future we need to look into having a binary format for ini, so that the ini file is first saved as binary and then is loaded as binary. But yeah, we don't need to worry about this right now. The same way, like the string, the localized strings, they are also in binary format, right? So this helps with loading.
Yeah. And I guess we look at just the important features there. I think this is probably incomplete.
So the change that Cabal is working on with the Swingish patch players, I think this is a very useful change, not just for showing who's on retail, but going forward. So right now he used it to like show like SH tag in like the diplomacy screen, right? So you can see who is. But thinking this further, like we want to be able to see like who is running which product in the lobby. Like, are we compatible with this product? Can we join their room? Do we allow them in our room, right? So like being able to detect like what products everyone is running on, which in a retail game is not possible, allows us to handle things gracefully in the lobby. But beyond that, it also allows us to handle fixes gracefully in the game. So for example, if everyone would be detected at the start of the game to run, our patch, then we could opt into the Pathfinder fixes right from the get-go, right? Then, it wouldn't need to run into this fallback and then go into the fixed path, but it could do it straight from the beginning. And the same with other fixes, like the uninitialized variable. So if everyone is detected on Super Hacker patch, then we can just say, okay, we initialize this variable there to this value, and everyone is good to go. Otherwise, leave it uninitialized to not mismatch with the retail players, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was just replying to a Yumi then. So, yeah, we're not talking about getting rid of ini files entirely, but having like an intermediate format which is quicker for the game engine to load. But yeah, no, I agree in terms of being able to identify players. So that's actually a funny one that I mentioned to Leggy the other day, is that you can kind of at the moment identify who is on the patch at the moment, since they don't identify their logon or PC name when you hover over them because of the change you made recently.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's the poor man's detection.
It works though.
Yeah.
I think
but yeah, clients. I'm sorry, carry on, Sky.
I think similar to the major bugs for the important features, I think we have to go through the issue list here as well. See if we have. I don't think that's a task now because the issue list itself is like 550 issues at the moment. But I think we have to go through that, figure out which one should be in like one of these milestones.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So we know what to tackle. The alternative, what you can do in GitHub, is create a project, and instead of using milestones, you just put everything in a project and give it a prior, or at least everything you want to do for your first release. Put that in your project, and then you can also assign it a priority, optionally. But working with milestones is also fine that way. But I think it would be good to update the milestones so it matches the things we want to do before we go for the first release, so we know what we are working to.
Yeah, I think equally for a lot of the issues, as well as just stating whether they're major problems, we might also have to mark them as no retail so that we don't consider working on them just yet. Because there are going to be some issues which are not going to be retail compatible to fix, even if they are major bugs.
Yeah, and I think it's good to mark there's no retail as well, because like Stubjax has been fixing quite a few of those, but in the end they have no immediate benefit to our first release because they won't be working anyway. I think the only one who really benefits from that is Generals Online at the moment, because they do not use the retail version, so they have those issues fixed. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Generals Online has been definitely helped a lot by not running retail compatible. Yeah, unfortunately, when Leggy was using one of our builds the other day, he did crash because of the AI group issue, which can't be fully fixed until we go no retail. So sadly, it still causes the crash every now and then, unfortunately.
Yeah, that we cannot fix. Yeah. And this happens in game.
Yeah, it still happens in game. It happened to, I can't remember whether it was Massacre or Lazy the other night. Basically, he must have had something selected when he surrendered, and he crashed, and he was on the patch exactly at the point when he surrendered.
Okay, but at least he didn't play then actively anymore. So not.
And then when I checked back his replay, there was no crash in the replay at all. So that, to me, typically tends to point to it being the AI group issue.
Yeah, I can only reproduce it in replay when you select the player there and then you just fast forward, and then it crashes often. Yeah, but I can totally see that it also causes random issues in some other situations. Yeah.
Okay, well, off the top of my head at the moment, I can't think of anything else. So it's yeah, essentially getting those issues that we've just discussed sorted, and then if anybody else can start looking through the backlog of issues, and we can start marking off those as whether to put them into the major faults, and also marking them as non-retail if people have got an idea if they may be non-retail compatible to fix.
Yeah. To me, it looks like we already work on all the big things, and we have been working on all the big things. But yeah, just we have like a bunch of distractions in there that slow us down. Yeah. But it's also not the end of the world. Like, it just means that things take longer. Right.
Yeah, I suppose, did anybody else have anything they wanted to bring up at all?
I'll just add, because I don't know if anyone or if everyone reads the chat, but Lemon just linked to a new project that he created 2 days ago, which has the issues in it for the first release. So there is a project already made. It's now a matter of making sure it's updated with all the issues.
Oh, I can't see them. I'm not logged in.
Yeah, it's linked in the chat. I wasn't seeing it in the project itself, so I don't know exactly where it is located, or that's an overall project at Super Hackers level. But you can find it in chat.
You don't have to log in, though. You can just click on the link.
I see there is a comment by Ayumi in regards to the INI format thingy. So the remark on INI is that, so generally if you want to load content, you want to load contents in binary. You don't want to have text-based file formats. And this is true for any game that you want to load fast. You want binary files, because in binary you can lay out your data in efficient ways and just load it really fast and put it into the desired data structures for your runtime. If you have text-based, then you first need to parse the text, and then you need to interpret the strings and their meaning and so on, and then you need to build the content out of that. And that is most often far more expensive than just reading binary. So if we implement binary format for INI and for things like this, then this is for like packaging the final product for the customer. It's not that the developer will then develop in binary formats. He can still interact with the text-based format, and he will use that, and the game can load that. But for the user, we ship then the binary formats so that the game loads fast and doesn't need to go through this text parsing. That's all that is.
Yeah, this is pretty neat then, having the project showing. So this looks like it's all current pull requests that are open.
Yeah. So the stuff that the stuff that Slumlord is currently working on, these are also useful things. The crash dump, and then he has another change for the some stuff in the lobby, like protecting from players with invalid names, and then he has another change where I already forgot. Also something with players in the lobby. So these things we should also get done. But he yeah.
Oh, I think the was it the player name length issue when you've got 8 players?
Yeah, this one exactly. Yeah, that one definitely needs to go in, but it has been dragging for quite a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the deny player one approved already, so that's probably okay to go in.
I think there was still some work or open questions. So, yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Ola. Okay, so still just a few small things then. Yeah. Yeah, the 8-player long player name issue. Yeah, here we are, prevent hanging network lobby with long player names, but that's it is Slumlord as well. Yeah. Yeah, I think this one was left with quite a few open things. Okay, updated it last week. It might just need a re-review again.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So we have a lot of good things in the works. I'm not confident that we will finish by end of this year with these things, because it is only just a few weeks left, right, to Christmas. But I think there's no need to stress ourselves and crunch now and do overtime and 16-hour days, right? So let's just keep going, but not focus too much on no retail compatible bugs and too many refactors. Baptista already left. Yeah, okay.
I think Arctic just dropped in then left again.
Yeah. So I would like Baptista to continue with his network fixing and refactor. So that looks useful. Yeah. I told him earlier, I hope he will pick it up and keep on doing that. Yeah. Or any other fixing. Yeah. But he has a lot of pending changes right now. He has almost 20 pending pull requests, which is quite a lot. You can search for authors if you type in author : Baptista. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them, like the refactors on the networking, are quite nice because it cleans up a lot of the
yes.
the handling there.
Yeah, I think we should definitely keep on going with the refactors, because right now, like this code is just such a mess, and it's hard to maintain when it's so brittle. Yeah, so I think this refactor is quite important. That's why it's also a major. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also probably a little bit of performance in that as well by doing that refactor, but
maybe
it's not going to be massive. But anything's nice at this point.
I think the performance of network is capped by network, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from my side, I will, after merging some of the outstanding changes, then I will focus on camera again and try to get this properly fixed. And then when that is done, then we can do the height fix. And Maula, you still need to fix these the top row timer in the video playback.
Oh yeah, I do have something which can help that. I just hadn't had an opportunity to put it up recently. It's only a very small tweak.
Yeah, And then another thing that needs looking into maybe is the black bars left and right when the resolution is too high, the aspect ratio is too wide for multiplayer. Maybe we should do that in parallel to have some prototype for this, so that we can allow humongous wide screens in single player, but not in multiplayer.
Yeah. Although, do we want that to be a game option for people?
Well, I think it should be a modder option, so something that goes into game data, ini, and not a user option. Because like the game mod should decide whether they allow players to play with wide screens or not, because it does give a huge advantage to those widescreen users. It cannot be a user choice. It must be product choice.
Yeah, because Generals Online does have some game options that the host sets, like such as limiting camera height and a few other things. So that's why I asked whether it was just a case of if when we do start making menu changes, then that can be an option for people who host games.
Yeah, sure. That could also be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would be too difficult to actually implement kind of letterboxing sort of thing for limiting the view of ultra wide and super ultra wide screens. It's no different to how the current control bar works or the default control bar. It's just a case of just changing the tactical view to restrict the width of the screen that it creates, essentially.
And in that regard, also the narrow control bar maybe would be interesting to look into, but I think it's not critical for our first release. So I think this could also wait, but maybe it would be nice to have if someone has no idea what to work on, and this could be a thing. So let's see, we have a ticket somewhere for narrowing the control bar on a wide screen so that it sits in the middle and it doesn't span over the whole screen. And I think in Justin's fork, J Marshall fork, there already is an implementation for this. This is where I got the screenshot from, actually. So it's probably somewhere in high level where the window is created for this, and then you just like change the bounds of this. So it's probably easy change somewhere. Yeah. But obviously this is also something that needs to be configurable, and it needs to play properly with the original control bar, with Control Bar Pro. So there are some considerations for the user. Like so if the user runs Control Bar Pro, then it shouldn't look like this by default, right? Probably neither with the original control bar. It should be like an opt-in option and in some clever way. Yeah.
Yeah, the code probably needs to pick up on the aspect ratio of the window. I assume that Control Bar Pro has a wide aspect ratio window, and that's why it scales properly in widescreen.
It is implemented for 16:9 resolutions. So I think it probably needs to be configurable from some ini file or from some WND file to say, hey, this is my target width. If the screen is wider than this, then please center it like this, right? And then and then
it'd be similar work to like what I did for the startup videos. It's just making sure that you're checking the source with the current screen and fitting it properly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've honestly got nothing else to talk about from what we've talked about so far. I think we've kind of covered most of the major points. As I was saying, if anybody else has got anything to bring up at all.
Silence.
The only thing I can say is that I think upcoming week I'll have a look at all the issues and try to tag them properly, like with no retail. move them into the project/milestones if they are needed there for first release. I can start picking that up.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Really helpful. I did notice you started knocking off some of the older PRs as well, which has been kind of nice to clear some of that backlog where they're not necessary anymore, really, or relevant.
Yeah, we were. I think Wednesday we're at 95 open PRs. So at some point it's time to clear out what's still being worked on and what should be closed. It's just too many open PRs.
Yeah, because I think at that point as well, there's a few here from, say, Thompson's and some of the Felivere ones as well, which we probably want to take a look at and check what's going to happen with those.
Yeah, I'm slowly working my way through that as well, from bottom up.
No, that's cool. I wasn't saying there was any rush. I was just talking in general.
Yeah, and give authors time to respond if they're still around.
Okay, cool. Do we want to finish things there then?
Yeah. So everyone knows what to do.
Yeah, so as I said, I guess key points are make sure that we're getting the gentle prioritized PR sorted, letting you as well as Ezon get back to the camera stuff. So if others try to start reviewing some of the open PRs as well. Yeah, I think that's most of where it goes at the moment.
Okay. Good. Then what's the time?
Yeah, we had a good hour and a half at it, so
it's a long meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Should probably end it there then, I guess.
Yeah. All right, then. Thank you for coming, and I hope we have a bit more clarity. And yeah, then I wish you great success and make the best game ever.
Cool, and thanks everyone, and thanks for coming. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a little bit more focus over the next couple of weeks, which would be nice.
Thank you all.
Cool. Cheers, everyone. Have a good evening then.
Have a good time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, everyone.